Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin, and today we are here with my first episode of the podcast. I have never done one of these before. I don't have a name yet, but we will figure one out. Thank you all for tuning in. Today we have a few things to talk about. First will be my predictions for the NCAA Top 25 matchups. Then we will go to the NFL matchups. And finally, we'll talk about Notre Dame and BYU predictions for next week, along with a bunch of other fun sports stuff going on around the world. Going into the matchups for tomorrow, we have number 4 Michigan taking on Iowa. I expect Michigan to win this one pretty easily, as Iowa does not have a good offense. They only put up 7 points against South Dakota State. And yeah, Spencer Petras is their quarterback. Next, we have Kentucky and Ole Miss. Ole Miss is undefeated, but they only beat Tulsa by 7 points. I think the final score was 35-28. Almost came back and lost. But then Kentucky, they almost lost to NIU. Only beat them by 8. Only beat, I think Miami, Ohio, or somebody by 8 points. Oh no, Miami, Ohio was a little bit more, but that's alright. Either way, I have the Wildcats winning this one. I just think they're a better team. Then we have Oklahoma and TCU. Oklahoma lost to Kansas State, I believe. Yep, 41-34. I think they will bounce back this week and knock off the TCU Horned Frogs. Then we have Purdue and the Golden Gophers. I have Minnesota winning this one. Purdue lost to Syracuse, lost to Penn State. I mean, Minnesota is just better all around. I think they win this one pretty easily. Next, we have Texas Tech and Kansas State. Texas Tech just came off a win over Texas. They won 37-34 in overtime, stormed the field. I have Kansas State winning this one at home. Now we have Oregon State and Utah. Oregon State is coming off a 3-point loss to USC, but I think Utah will win this matchup here. I think they're a better team. Utah's only loss is to Florida, if I remember correctly. Yep. That'll be a good game, though. After that, we have Alabama and Arkansas. Arkansas, they blew 14-point lead Texas A&M. Plus, I'm pretty sure Nick Saban is undefeated against Arkansas all time, or might be like 17-1 in his career. So I'm going to go with the Crimson Tide in a blowout. Next, we have Rutgers and Ohio State. This one is pretty easy. Ohio State will kill Rutgers. Next, we have a Big 12 matchup of, I believe, the championship game. Big 12 conference championship game from last year between Baylor and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, as we know, rallied back to beat Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl. I think Oklahoma State is going to win here on the road against Baylor. Baylor has a good win or two on the year, mostly over ranked BYU, but I think they'll be 3-2 after this game. Next, we have Northwestern Wildcats and the Penn State Nittany Lions. I have Penn State killing Northwestern. Northwestern's only win is over Nebraska, who fired Scott Frost. Penn State beat Purdue, killed Auburn, beat Central Michigan by a good amount, and also Ohio they stopped. Penn State will be 5-0 after this week, and then they head into the Big House next week against Michigan. Now we have two ACC teams, Wake Forest and Florida State. Florida State began the year with a win over LSU by blocking an extra point. I have Florida State coming out on top here. Wake Forest suffered a close loss to Clemson last week in, I think, double overtime. But either way, I have the Seminoles coming out on top here. Texas A&M and Mississippi State. Mississippi State is somehow favored in this game by 4 points, but I think they're going to lose to the Aggies, who have wins over Miami Hurricanes and Arkansas last week. Georgia and Missouri. Georgia, the number one team in the nation here, is taking on the Tigers. Georgia is going to win this game. I don't think Missouri will score as many points as Kent State did last week, but we'll see. As Missouri lost to Auburn, they missed a 26-yard field goal, I believe, at the end of regulation, and then the running back in overtime was going to the end zone for a touchdown, but he dropped the ball, switching it to his other hand. Auburn recovered in the end zone for a touchback, and the game was over. Primetime matchup, ABC. We have NC State and Clemson. NC State beat Clemson last year, if I remember correctly, but I have Clemson winning this one. At home, DJ Uiagalelei is much more improved than last year. Will Shipley is back. I have Clemson coming out on top. Pittsburgh and Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is not going to win this game. Probably won't be close. Pittsburgh is going to stomp them, as Pittsburgh only loss this year was to Tennessee. 2 games left. We have a Pac-12 matchup here after dark. USC Trojans, Arizona State. I have USC winning this. They should win by more than they did last week, but I don't know how the turnovers will continue to fare for USC, as they are at plus 14 to start the year. Stanford and Oregon. Oregon had a huge comeback last week against Washington State. Pardon me. They scored 29 points in the fourth quarter to beat Washington State. Stanford is 1-2. Oregon will win this one. And now we are on to the NFL matchups. Thursday Night Football, the Dolphins ended up losing. Tua got hurt halfway throughout the game, but he is okay, I believe, as he was released from the hospital after having some problems with his back, neck, head, as Teddy Bridgewater had to step in. Lots of teams had drives yesterday in the red zone where they couldn't score. I know the Dolphins had to settle for 3 after Tyreek Hill had a 64-yard catch. The Bengals had to keep kicking field goals until that touchdown to Hayden Hurst at the end. Dolphins have the Jets next week. I think they'll win that. Cincinnati, I'm not sure who they play, but they're 2-2 now. Vikings at Saints, 9:30 game in London. I have Minnesota winning this one, as the Saints will be without Jameis Winston due to vertebrae problems in his back. Vikings will be 3-1 then after this game. Seahawks and Detroit. The Lions, I'm pretty sure they'll be without DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I will have Seattle going out on top here. Seattle, they lost to the Falcons. Got killed by San Fran, but I think they'll have a better game this week. Jets and Steelers. Steelers, they lost to the Patriots. Jets got smoked by Cincinnati last week. I think Pittsburgh is going to win this game at home. The offense will do better, even though Matt Canada has been sucking as an offensive coordinator. Bears and Giants. I have New York Giants winning this one. They're at home. I don't think Chicago will be able to stop Saquon Barkley, as Barkley is top 5 in rushing this year. Colts and Titans. Indianapolis got their first win of the year over Kansas City last week, 20-17. The Titans also won their first game, 26-24 over the Raiders. I have the Colts winning this one here at home. Chargers and Texans. Houston is not a good team. Houston tied with the Colts, lost to the Bears, and I'm trying to think what their other matchup even was. Houston, oh yeah, that's right, they lost 16-9, in which the Broncos offense struggled again. But we'll get more about that later. LA is going to win this one pretty easily. Cleveland Browns and Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons beat Seattle last week. Cleveland beat Pittsburgh on Thursday Night Football. I have Cleveland winning this game here. I don't think the Falcons' defense will be able to stop Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, as the Browns will destroy them in the run game. Commanders and Cowboys. Cowboys are going to win this one easily. Wentz got sacked 9 times last week against the Eagles, and Cooper Rush will be the only quarterback for, I believe, Dallas's history to start 4-0. Jaguars and Eagles. Going to be a good game, but Eagles will come away here and go to 4-0 on the season. Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, they have all looked good this year. As the Eagles are in first place in the NFC East after the Giants lost on Monday Night Football. Buffalo and Baltimore. The Bills lost to Miami 21-19 last week. There was the butt punt. There was also the drive before that where they were inside 5, could not score at all. And then, on the last play of the game, with about, I want to say 20 seconds left, Josh Allen threw a route to, I think it was Isaiah McKenzie. Couldn't get out of bounds. They tried to get up and spike in time, but they were unsuccessful, so the clock ran out. I have Baltimore winning this one at home. I'm pretty sure Micah Hyde and a few other players for the Bills secondary are going to be out. And yeah, no, Lamar is going to have another good day. Cardinals and Panthers. Arizona lost last week to the Rams, 20-12. I think they'll win this week over the Panthers. The Panthers just haven't been good this year under Matt Rule. Baker's been playing pretty iffy. And so I think Arizona will win another game. Broncos and Raiders. Broncos defense has played great the first 3 weeks. The question is, will the offense do anything? Will Russ be able to cook? I think he will. Denver will beat the Raiders, as the Raiders are 0-3. They had a players' meeting, and they're not off to the start that they want to be. Then we have New England and Green Bay. Packers are at home. I have them winning this game. They beat Tampa Bay last week, 14-12. Patriots ended up losing by 11 to Baltimore. Sunday Night Football. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. The game will be played in Tampa, I believe, even though Hurricane Ian just went through Florida and a bunch of other southern states, Georgia, South Carolina a little bit. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. Both teams are pretty mad after a loss, but I do have Tampa Bay winning this one, though, if their offensive weapons are back, or at least some of them. Godwin, Mike Evans. And then we have the Rams and 49ers. I have the Rams winning this one. 49ers offense struggled, to say the least, under Jimmy Garoppolo after Trey Lance is out for the year. Jimmy G stepped out the back of the end zone for a safety, pulling a Dan Orlovsky as they ended up losing to Denver. And now we will talk about Notre Dame and BYU. Notre Dame is my favorite college football team, and they have the BYU Cougars next week on Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. in Las Vegas. Notre Dame, first game of the year, they lost a close one to Ohio State, ended up losing to Marshall then next week, but bounced back with wins over California and North Carolina. BYU hasn't been impressive the last few games. BYU, I'm pretty sure they beat Oregon. Actually, no, they lost to Oregon. That's right. They had a 6-point win over ranked Baylor. But then looking at Wyoming and Utah State, who they were both heavy favorites against, the defense didn't really do a good job at all. It's basically been Hall, the quarterback, carrying this team. I think Notre Dame will beat BYU pretty easily. Oh, wow. Look at that. UCLA is beating number 15 Washington by 13 right now. That's crazy. So, yeah, Notre Dame will be 3-2 after next week. Pine, going to have another good game, along with Mayer, the running backs, Estime, Chris Tyree. And then we'll take a look at the rest of the schedule. I think they'll beat Stanford. I think they'll beat UNLV. Should beat Syracuse. Clemson and USC, probably going to be losses. Navy and Boston College should be wins. I think there's a good chance for us to go at least 8-4. Oh, and one more thing. North Carolina game. Notre Dame was up 38-14 at one point, but May and the North Carolina receivers just got behind our secondary for huge touchdowns, made the game a lot closer than it looked. And yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about for the most part. Oh, Albert Pujols did hit another home run today. He is at 701, as the Cardinals will be in the National League playoffs for baseball. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye.